In an era where everyone thinks their opinions are so damn important, I'm here to give you a little piece of my mind. Welcome to Unaffiliated the Podcast with your host, B. Seth. Let's go.
Let's go.
Dave Chappelle.
The GOAT.
The GOAT of comedy. Easily the greatest comic of all time. And I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan. So I'm not saying that lightly at all. I understand the Eddie Murphys. I understand the Richard Pryors. I understand the Chris Rocks. The Bernie Macs. Chappelle, the GOAT, recently came out with a special on Netflix called The Closer. Let's start with the review because there's a lot of controversy surrounding this. Let's just start with how we perceived it the first time we heard it, and I'll let you start that.
I know the first time I watched it, I think I was halfway paying attention. I think I was doing something else on my phone too, but I was still listening. Mm-hmm. And because I had to go back and rewatch it, I was like, he is spending a lot of time on the gay jokes and the transgender jokes. Because it's like he opened up, he was doing some with personal stuff, and then it's like once he got past that, it was like, all right, let's hop into it. Like, this is what the special's going to be about. Right. And it's like he veered away from it here and there, but for the most part, he kind of like he was letting you know, like, this special is for me addressing this, kind of like in the title, The Closer. Like, I'm closing this out. I'm addressing this once and for all, because really the last three that he's done have touched on transgender and the LGBTQ and, you know, the extra letters, because I forgot. I apologize. I try to get on about it. I just forgot to.
He got a lot of flack for that.
But yeah,
for every one of those.
Exactly, because he did the first one, then people had their opinions. He did the second one addressing those the comments from the first one, and the second one got more comments. So it was like, all right, this one, I'm summing it all up. I'm not talking about it again. I'm putting it all out on the table. And I don't think, and like I said, I'm not gay and I'm not part of that community, so I can't really talk to how anybody may feel about it. But to me, he wasn't being offensive. He wasn't trying to be offensive. One, he was just trying to tell jokes, which I think as a comedian, when you're telling jokes, sometimes you may tell jokes that people don't like, but you're trying to make light of situations, and that's difficult. Like, it's difficult trying to make light of suicide or trying to make light of molestation. So it's like you're trying to make light of issues that you never, like, people don't do. So he's trying to make light of homosexuality and that whole thing, not necessarily putting them down, but just making, like, how he make jokes about black and white people and all that. And I think just that community is so, and he kind of touched that on that in the special, has become, that movement and that community has become so adverse to anyone making a joke, making a mockery, making any kind of comments outside of positivity about them, into, like, you're going to get attacked, whoever you are.
Well, for me, it's just unrealistic because it's just like, and, you know, again, I can't speak for how anybody should feel because I say this often. With the freedom of speech comes the freedom of critique, right? So if we have the freedom to speak our minds, to live our lives how we want to live them, people also have the freedom to verbalize that they agree with that or they don't, right? Like, for me, I know there's people in the world who don't accept me because of the color of my skin. I know there's people who look at me crazy because I have tattoos. You know what I mean? It's just a simple part of just acknowledging some people have their predisposed dispositions. That's just what it is, right? Now, if those are matched with hate, violence, X, Y, and Z, horrible. That's criminal at that point, right? But in terms of for myself, everybody accepting me, liking me. I don't expect that. My expectation is for everybody to respect me and for opportunities to be presented to me as they would the next person. That's all. You can hate me. Give me those opportunities, and that respect, we're good.
Yeah.
We're square. So I agree. I think in this special specifically, I think he was kind of pointing that out. How, like, he can get on a special and literally joke on every group in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when he makes a certain joke, now it's backlash. It's career ending. Let's cancel him. First of all, let's get into cancel culture. Cancel culture. It's one thing for somebody to be ignorant, and then let's provide education for this person to better understand their ignorance, versus you said something we don't like, you're dead to us. Which that whole mob mentality to me is dangerous. It's counterproductive. It's primitive. I feel like we're back in the Salem witch trials or some shit, right? Now, mind you, again, just to be fair here, with free speech comes the freedom of critique, right? So if the baby wants to get on stage and say some dumb the backlash is going to come.
Oh, it came.
But my question is, what's the goal? Is it to kill the baby, to kill his likeness, to kill his image, to take money out of his pockets, to make him literally non-existent because he had an opposing view, which was very disrespectful? I'm not going to lie, it was disrespectful.
That was wild.
Or what's the opposite side of that? Is there a side where this can all work out for everybody? Or is it, let's kill who doesn't agree with us?
Yeah, because it's almost kind of like, and because I see it happen a lot with sports, a little bit in entertainment, basically where they go back and find, where they do it a lot, just across the board, where they go back and find like old tweets that somebody made or something like that.
Dumbest in the world.
And especially with like white people, like some that say like racist stuff. They'll be like, hey, I was young.
Was it Betty? No, Paula, what's her name? Paula Abdeen? Is
Paula Abdul?
No.
Or are you talking about the cooking?
The cooking.
Oh, that's
Paula Dean. I said Abdeen. What the
said Abdul.
I love Paula Abdul.
Oh yeah, she's great.
What the but Paula Dean though, yeah, she's all over the place, man. At least in the 70s she was.
But yeah,
but that's crazy. To me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That 30, 40 years later, we can dig up some shit you did in the 70s and cancel you and say you're a racist, you're a bigot based off of some shit you said 40 years ago. Yeah. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, because like if you listen pretty much anything back then, especially comics, like I was listening to an old Eddie Murphy Raw. I was like, Ross. Yo, they would kill, like they would have his head on a stake.
The reason I don't like cancel culture because it eliminates the possibility for education, right? It's this idea, you f***ed up, we're going to jump on you, you're out of here. My thing is, let's say education is the forefront, right? You should be educated on why you said those insensitive comments about AIDS, about gay people, all that shit. You should be educated on that. Just from the outside looking in, it looks like the education isn't really about that as much as I'm going to educate you not to say anything against me. And I feel like people are taking it into a very personal space, a very toxic space. I hate the word toxic, but hey, we're here. And in a space that, again, leaves little to no room for transformation, for evolution, for anything like that. It's just, we're going to teach you, whether it's whatever group feels disrespected by something, we're going to teach you never to do that shit again. And we're going to ruin you, and we're going to make an example out of you. To me, that can be just as bad as the things you're fighting against. That sounds very similar to me.
Be sure to follow Unaffiliated the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and now on YouTube.